Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Chef D, and we are here to give you the winning ingredients for your Week 4 DraftKings slate we got going down this weekend. I hope you guys enjoyed some of the earlier content. And now this is the main course, the main event, Week 4. Let's get on the good side, all right? Let's get on the good side. We're going to pick and choose the best picks from each and every position for Week 4. Let's start off with the QB position. And we're going to start off with Patrick Mahomes. We're going to start at the top, work our way down, all right? Patrick Mahomes coming in at 8,100. Obviously, there's not much I need to say about this. You have a team in the Kansas City Chiefs who were in the Super Bowl back-to-back years. This is a dominant team, and they are currently 1-2 so far. This is a major bounce back scenario where you got this team going up against a poor talent wise Philadelphia Eagles. All right. This is a big mismatch. As you saw with Dallas versus the Philadelphia Eagles, this is very similar to what you're going to see with the Kansas City Chiefs going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously, you expect Hurts to fight back and put up some points, but I actually want both quarterbacks, all right, because the upside is there. Patrick Mahomes should have a big bounce back game. I'm expecting well over 300 yards. Those attempts to be right about the same, that 35 to 40 range. And hopefully he can lower those interceptions. But even with the interceptions, he was still getting 36, 28, and 24. You really, really want him to get a 40 fantasy point game, but that's going to take a lot. As long as he gets somewhere in that mid-30 range, you are fine with that $8,100 salary price, okay? We got a lot of matchups where you got maybe some weather can be a factor, and also some games where you have injuries and defenses going up against other good defenses, and where it could be a little bit lower totals in some of these other games. Let's go off with our second option. It's going to be Jalen Hurts. I spoke to you about him just a few seconds ago about Patrick Mahomes, and I want the other side too. The upside is there. It doesn't matter the game script. If they're up, it's because of Jalen Hurts. If they're down and they need to have some garbage time, it's going to be because of Jalen Hurts. In that game against Dallas, they were down around 20 plus points. He was able to salvage the day with over 300 yards passing with 2 TDs, 2 interceptions. Also added in that rushing upside that he always has in 35 yards. The linebacker play is a little bit low level compared with the Dallas Cowboys have. They have a lot of young, fast linebackers, Micah Parsons, Jalen Smith, Van Der Esch, those type of guys that were able to contain some of the rushing lanes of Jalen Hurts. That's not going to be the case here in Kansas City. They're going to have to bring up a safety, maybe spy on him. But this is a situation where the overpowered offense that they have in KC is going to overwhelm that Eagles defense. Eagles are going to need to come back. Hurts going to need to play some nice cleanup minutes in that second half. Next guy we're going to go with is going to be Russell Wilson at 7,100. Russell Wilson going up against the San Francisco 49ers. He's been pretty all right. Okay. He was red hot the first 2 weeks. A little bit of bump in the road. I don't know what happened. Hopefully it's not that Jekyll and Hyde thing we had last year with Russell Wilson and Seahawks. But we will see if he's able to bounce back from that poor performance against Minnesota. Minnesota was in a must-win situation where they were 0-2. 7,100 is a great price for what Russell Wilson brings to the table. As you can see, if he's bringing those week 1 and week 2 performances, he is cashing your lineups. He's still yet to throw an interception. So hopefully that doesn't happen. And he needs to get back on the side with 2 dominant wide receivers. Tyler Lockett, he's going to be able to play this week. And also DK Metcalf. All right, they're going to have a little injury at the tight end position with Gerald Everett. But they do have Will Dissly and some other guys that are going to step up for him. But the matchup is there against San Francisco. It's not the same defense as it was years prior, and Robert Saleh is now gone. So Wilson has some high upside this week. Next quarterback that we like, I'm gonna go to the opposite side too. So we got a couple of little game stacks here. If you want to say, if you don't want to pay up for one quarterback, you go a little bit lower and go for the other guy. And this guy, Jimmy Garoppolo, this one he has some upside here. I'm basically looking at the defense he's going up against. Seattle tends to struggle in the passing lanes and rushing. So both sides of the ball. San Francisco can exploit this Seattle's Seahawks defense at home. They have Trey Sermon, they have Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and Kittle. So these options are going to really, really press the Seattle defense. I think this is a very high scoring game. I would take the over if I had to choose. This is if this is like a little dart throw. You don't have to go Jimmy Garoppolo. I wouldn't like, oh, this is a 100% smash play, but the matchup is there, and I can see some positive game script for him. And out of all the choices of the quarterbacks I have, I would choose him last because these next two I think are actual dynamite choices. Let's go to our next option at the quarterback position, and that will be Dak Prescott at 6,700. This is a top 5 quarterback, and you're getting him at like a top 10 price. So get him while he is this cheap. A lot of people are going to look at Carolina's defense and be like, oh, they're number one, but this is not a good matchup at all. This is not a good matchup at all. What he did against Philly, he's going to probably do against the Carolina Panthers. The only difference about that was Philly couldn't stop the run. I think Carolina can slow down the run a little bit against Pollard and Zeke. That will allow Dak to throw the ball more and hopefully get to that 300 yards. You need him to get to that 300, 400 yards plateau type of ceiling. 3 touchdowns is there. Hopefully maybe some more rushing upside. But I think this will be a nice breakout game for Dak, similar to what he did in week 1. Going against this Carolina defense who has some injuries in that secondary. So this is going to be very exciting to see. Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Cedric Wilson, the tight ends that they got, and the running backs. It's too much to handle. From what Dallas is bringing to the table is too much to handle. I love Dak Prescott. Next guy we're going to go with, one of the cheaper ones, will be Taylor Heineke at 5,900. If I'm choosing a cheap quarterback, give me this guy. He has rushing upside. He has that gunslinger mentality. If they're down, he's going to throw. And what you saw against Buffalo, another scenario where they were down 20-plus points in a blowout, but he was able to muster up some nice drives at the end of the game and clear you over 20 fantasy points. And this is a defense where you can take full advantage of. The Atlanta Falcons are not a good passing defense. If I'm going to pass DVOA, the Atlanta Falcons are currently 26th. So that is a great matchup for him. Even with the news about Antonio Gibson, he is questionable. If he doesn't play, that would lead to them using more McKissick. So more of, dumping the ball off, probably more shotgun sets. So this all leans towards Taylor Heineke going up against a very poor defense. And the same goes for Atlanta. Now, I'm not playing Matt Ryan. I would not play Matt Ryan. There's no rushing upside. And you need that, really, you do, in DraftKings. That's similar to the wide receiver position. You want guys to get multiple catches. You want the PPR guys. But I'm just telling you, this game between Atlanta and Washington is another high-scoring atmosphere. And I think I want the athletic quarterback right here with the combination that he has with Terry McLaurin and Logan Thomas. Some nice options to have going up against the Atlanta Falcons. Let's move over to the running back position, and let's start off our day with Alvin Kamara. Let me just speak on Derrick Henry just really quick. I'm not really choosing him in this particular game. So number one, he's the highest priced running back at 8,800. That tends not to work out in scenarios where all the ownership is going to be on him, especially with no Julio Jones and no A.J. Brown. But this is where the Jets, who have been playing okay defense, can key in on Derrick Henry because there is no threat at the wide receiver, and they're going to put 8 or 9 in that box and force Tannehill to throw. So this is going to be a game where it's probably going to be low scoring. And I think the Jets will clog those lanes. Robert Saleh is smart enough to shut down Derrick Henry and force Tannehill, who's been throwing a lot of interceptions this season, to lesser talent wide receivers. And it's just not a good scenario or game script that I'm looking at in that Tennessee and New York Jets game. So let's go to Alvin Kamara. Kamara going up against the New York Giants, who have struggled against running backs. This is a guy that has a big percentage of the offense going towards him, similar to Christian McCaffrey. As you can see last week, 24 rushing attempts, 4 targets. The upside is there. He was able to get in the end zone. They're going to feed the beast in Alvin Kamara. I think he has another similar performance of what he did against New England. But this is a very good, you want someone that's going to get the work, and he is going to get the work. Giants do struggle just a little bit against that run, and Kamara is a dual threat running back, and he should exploit the linebackers from the New York Giants as well. Next guy we're going to look at will be Saquon Barkley, and this one is going to be mainly a play of volume. And he's getting 80% of the 100% of the touches. Especially last week, we saw the positives in that game against Atlanta. 16 rushes, 51 yards, 1 TD, 7 targets, and 6 receptions. That's what you really wanted. You wanted to see if the old Barkley can come back, and that old Barkley had to deal with the receiving game. Was he going to get 5, 6, 7 targets? And he did in that game. It was questionable in week 1 and week 2, but he was getting limited snaps. Now he's getting the full workload. Boom. You got you a number 1 running back riding for the rest of the season. This is what you want to see before he gets back to his original price around that high 7K, 8K range. Saquon Barkley is a beast. And we're going to play him until he gets to his correct price. All right. Next guy we're going to look at will be Clyde Edwards-Helaire, all right, for the Kansas City Chiefs. I know there's a lot of Chiefs fans down on him. He's had a lot of ups and downs in this season, but at 5,400, someone that can exploit this Philadelphia run D and is getting all the work out of the backfield. Sparingly, he'll come out for Darrell Williams, but I like what I saw against the Chargers, 100 yards rushing, 2 catches for 9 yards in a TD. He did lose a fumble, but Andy Reid trusts CEH, and I think they're going to go back to that well, and really get a nice flow between pass and run for this Kansas City Chiefs offense so they can get right and get a win because they are currently 1-2. But in this nice offense, this high-powered offense, he shouldn't be this cheap. He shouldn't be this cheap. He should, what he was at the beginning of the season, around $6,700, $6,600. He's going to work his way back up to that. I do like CH for this Sunday. Next running back we like will be Chris Carson. All right. I want all the offensive guys in this game in Seattle, in the 49ers. Give me Carson, give me Sermon on both sides. As long as he is healthy, you just hope he doesn't get injured in the game. But he is going to be the bell cow. I want to see a little more receiving upside from him. There were certain games last season where Wilson fed him like 5, 6, 7 targets. But he's going to get the attempts. You need him to get over 100 yards, and you need him to get a TD. But the upside is there, especially going against the San Francisco 49ers, who are, like I said, are not the same defense. At 6,300, that is too cheap for Chris Carson, who is the number 1 running back. As long as he's healthy, throw him in there. All right, in your lineup, Bills, get a nice percentage of him. Okay? Next guy we're going to go with will be J.D. McKissic. We're going to wait and see on Antonio Gibson. If he is out, then we will play J.D. McKissic at 5K flat. The upside is there. He was able to exploit the Giants' defense. This is why I like Alvin Kamara, because what he does in the passing game, J.D. McKissic can do the same. going up against the Atlanta Falcons. And if Antonio Gibson's out, it's going to be all on him. And at that cheap price, that correction hasn't come around yet because it's not official. But there is a chance that Gibson does miss the game, and we like J.D. McKissic at 5K. Another running back that we do like will be Michael Carter for the New York Jets at 4,500. I was hoping for a better performance from him. This is a little cheap flyer. Do not have a high percentage of him going up against Tennessee, who are exploitable in the pass and the rush. Michael Carter has been the better of the three running backs. Tevin Coleman really doesn't get any work. It's really between Michael Carter and Ty Johnson. And he's been getting the bulk load of the carries and the receiving work. So we see the explosiveness in the games where he had a nice 14-yard run. He had a nice 8-yard run against Denver. We need a little more consistency. If you need a cheap running back, all right, if you're in a desperate spot, then I would choose Michael Carter. And one more guy. We're going to go with Zach Moss. So week one, he was a inactive, a healthy inactive, but he has come back. I don't know what was wrong, but he's come back and he's been very, very solid, taking a chunk of work from Devin Singletary. 8 of 26, had 2 receptions in week 2, and in week 3, 13, 60 with 3 receptions, 31 yards and a touchdown. I'm liking what I see out of him. They're using him exclusively, really, in that red zone. So watch out for that. He's vulturing touchdowns from Devin Singletary. And if I had a choice between Moss and Singletary, it's going to be Moss every single time. I liked him in preseason. I don't know what happened in week 1, but he has bounced back, and I love him at this cheap price. So we're going with Zach Moss at 5,300. Next, let's move over to the wide receiver position. We love that KC Philly game. Let's choose some guys in that game. Tyreek Hill at 8K. If you need to pay up, go back to him. I feel like he's going to have a big bounce back game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Darius Slay is not a good corner, and he cannot stop Tyreek Hill. Things will get back to clicking for the Kansas City Chiefs. Mahomes to Hill is a nice stack. Bring it back with Quez Watkins, which would be lower owned. That's sneaky. With Devonta Smith, he should be able to bounce back. Those are the 2 guys I'm looking at to bring it back from Philadelphia in that game. Next is going to be Stephon Diggs at 7,600. He has yet to have an explosive game. He's been right in the middle, very mediocre this season. Hasn't had over 100 yards. And I think this is the game where it happens against Houston. Buffalo is a throw-first team anyway, and they're probably going to run up the score. Diggs should be able to exploit the Houston secondary very easily. He's an elite route runner, and at 7,600, this is an absolute steal. He's going to be in each and every one of my lineups, okay? Hands down, we're putting Diggs, okay? Next guy will be Calvin Ridley for the Atlanta Falcons at 7K. He's getting the targets, just haven't had a big blow-up game. No games over 20 fantasy points. This is definitely a game against Washington where he can have success. 11 targets and 10 targets and 8 in the last 3 games. We want a touchdown. We want over 100 yards. I'm liking the fact that Matt Ryan is still feeding him despite the fact he's not feeding Kyle Pitts. So 7K Ridley, keep going to that well. Keep putting money in that slot machine, and he will cash it for you. I love Calvin Ridley. Some guys we are going to go with also to bring it back in that game. I spoke to you about Terry McLaurin a little bit earlier. I spoke to you about pretty much Tyler Heineke. And if I have Tyler Heineke, I want Terry McLaurin, and I will bring it back with Calvin Ridley, okay? So Terry McLaurin at 6,900. If you want a nice little game stack, you go with the number 1 wide receiver for the Washington football team. And I want that performance like he did against the New York Giants. This is a similar matchup where the poor defense of the Atlanta Falcons should rear their ugly head, and McLaurin should eat up that defense. All right, this is another elite route runner at 6,900. We're going with Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry. The next guys we're going to go back to that San Francisco-Seattle game at 4 o'clock, and I want both of these guys. I want Debo at 6,500 right here, and I want Brandon Ayuk, who's really cheap. But Debo Samuel had 10 targets in the previous game against Green Bay. If Kittle is out, then they will lean on Debo, Kyle Juszczyk, and Brandon Ayuk heavily going up against Seattle to keep up pace with their. But I do expect Kittle to play in this game. He usually guts things out. Hopefully he's fine for the rest of the season. But that is something to monitor going into Sunday. All right, so let's put Debo Samuel. Let's throw out Tyreek Hill. And 5K flat will be Brandon Ayuk. He has finally, I don't know if some little punishment at the beginning of the season, but he has bounced back fine. 4 of 37 with a TD. That's what you like to see. He's getting put in some rushing situations, 1 for 8. So this is what the Brandon Ayuk we expected coming out at the beginning of the season. It was a little bit of a rough start. He's passed over Sherfield because obviously he's more talented. But Brandon Ayuk is back in the good graces, and we're going to go to that as well. Next guy we're going to go with is going to be Amari Cooper. All right, Amari Cooper at 6K going up against Carolina. And if I want a Dallas wide receiver, give me the number one option. You see the upside. I love both CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. So there's no in some situations you're going to have to choose one or the other. I advise making one lineup with Cooper, one lineup with CeeDee Lamb, and one lineup with both. Just to have a nice double stack and bring it back with something from Carolina. But Amari Cooper has elite wide receiver upside. In week 1, he had 13 receptions, 17 targets, 139 yards, and 2 TDs. That 41-point performance was very exceptional and what led them to a very close contested game, but a little bit short. But the upside is there with Amari Cooper. Another guy we're going to go with will be Corey Davis in a revenge narrative going up against the Tennessee Titans. At home, the Jets are home, going up against his old team. Corey Davis has been clicking with Zach Wilson. He's the number one guy. In week 1, 5 with 7 targets, 97 yards, and 2 TDs. A big performance. A poor performance against Denver in week 3, but the targets were there. So if I see air yards, if I see the targets, that's what I'm gonna go back to. And in a revenge narrative, I'm all for it for this week, especially with the type of secondary that the Tennessee Titans have. Corey Davis knows that defense, and he knows what will work against them. Okay. 5K, Corey Davis is a nice cheap price. So you got 2 options. You got Corey Davis, you got Brandon Ayuk. You can get really creative for week 4. All right. And last but not least, let's go with my cheap guy of the week. Will be Alamadeus Zaccheaus, the wide receiver for Atlanta Falcons. He's replacing Russell Gage. He had a nice high upside game against the Giants. He stepped up. You see it picked up in week 2. 4 targets, 2 catches, 22 yards. Then against the Giants, he had 3 catches, 6 targets, 32 yards, and a TD. I like what I saw out of him. And if they're going to move this ball and you have a nice high-scoring game, everything's not going to go to Calvin Ridley. There's going to be another guy that's going to clean up and have a lot of receptions, and that's that slot guy. And that's Alamadeus Zaccheaus. He's going to be eating up that middle, going up against that man zone that they run over there in Washington. So I like him at that $4,100 price. Let's move over to the tight end position, and we will obviously start off with Travis Kelce. If you want to, you can go with the nice triple stack with Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce. I am fine with that, but you are sacrificing some salary, and you're gonna have to find some other options. But it is well worth it. All right, maybe you can pair it with 2. You go Kelce and Mahomes. That is fine by me. Bring it back with one of the cheaper options from Philly, like I keep saying, Quez Watkins, and then you can have a nice stack, and then you can fill in your core, and hopefully your lineup will cash. Okay, so Travis Kelce. Nothing to explain here. He's the number 1 tight end in the league. We get the point. All right. Next will be Kittle. Kittle is going to be predicated on injury. As long as he's healthy, I think he's getting things back rolling. 5 targets in week 1, 4 targets in week 2, then 9 targets, 7 catches in week 3 with 92 yards receiving. Even got a rush for almost 10 yards, which was very impressive. This is the usage I want to see, what I was used to in the past 2 previous seasons. As long as he's healthy, Kittle is an elite tight end for the San Francisco 49ers and in the league, okay? So we are going to go with Kittle at 5,900. We're going to go with Kelsey. Let's see some a little bit cheaper options if you're struggling with salary. Let's go with Logan Thomas. I'm all in on this game. I love both sides of the ball. This is someone he came on last year, but he's continuing to be very consistent, getting you double-digit fantasy points or just about double-digit fantasy points, and that's all you really need from your tight end. You're not asking for the world, but you're asking for some respectability, and that's going to be Logan Thomas. He's a mismatch. He unfortunately had a fumble, but that was a nice play where I saw him break some tackles and really enforce his will on that secondary. But he had a good performance in week 3, week 2, and week 1. Very solid. I want a big blow-up game, but as long as he's giving me just a little bit over double digit, that's all you really need, because a lot of these tight ends are not doing it, or you're just choosing the wrong guy. Okay? Next and last but not least, tight end, the best tight end, the cheap tight end that I really, really love for this week will be Pat Freiermuth, Baby Gronk at 3,100. He has overtaken Eric Ebron, and you see it gradually going up. Week 1, he had 1 target. Week 2, he had 4 targets, 4 catches. Week 3, 3 catches, 5 targets, and was used in the red zone. They schemed up the nice little tight end baby screen at that end zone, and he was able to get in. I like how they're using him. He's a better receiver than Eric Ebron. He's a better blocker than Eric Ebron. But just get rid of Eric Ebron pretty much. We're going to go with Pat Freiermuth for a second week in a row. This could be a huge blow spot, especially if Chase Claypool is out. Juju is back. Deontay Johnson is back. The question mark will be Claypool for this week going up against Green Bay, who has struggled against tight ends as well. And then last but not least, I even have some defenses for you. So 3 defenses I'm going to look at. Number 1 is going to be the Buffalo Bills. Put them in each and every lineup. This is a elite defense going up against Davis Mills, who's a very exploitable rookie quarterback. They were able to fluster Washington, destroy Miami, and decapitate the Pittsburgh Steelers, putting up some nice fantasy performances, especially against Miami. But Davis Mills is a rookie quarterback. I expect interceptions. I expect sacks. I expect fumbles. This is a very nice environment with Buffalo Bills Mafia at home. That is too much for a rookie quarterback, and I like the Buffalo Bills at that high price at 4,300. Next will be the Denver Broncos. I think they can take full advantage of Lamar Jackson, stymie him and the offense, struggle just a little bit, just enough for them in that mile-high air to come away with a win. And they've been solid against the Giants, Jacksonville, and the Jets. Obviously, those are poor offenses. But this team, the Denver Broncos, and that defense is very strong early in the season with that high altitude. And I was concerned of what I saw with the Baltimore Ravens going up against the Lions. I think they're going to see a real match, and they're not going to get away with a late game field goal going up against the Denver Broncos. I think the Broncos, for now, are serious, but they will slow down. But right now, I think they in that defense at home are going to prove problems for the Baltimore Ravens in week 4. And then last but not least will be the Dallas Cowboys defense that I'm going to go with at 2,600. If you need a cheap option, I think this one has some very, very sneaky upside. They are averaging 9 fantasy points a game. They've been very solid, getting 2 interceptions in each and every game against Tom Brady, against Herbert, and against Jalen Hurts. They were able to get turnovers, and that is big. Michael Parsons switching to the DN position is huge. I think this is a big upgrade. All right. They upgraded a lot of spots during the offseason, and people are still sleeping on the Cowboys defense. Okay. I like them at 2,600. I think the old Sam Darnold can rear its ugly head in this situation with no Christian McCaffrey. He's going to be forcing some situations where he's probably going to turn the ball over. All right, so give me the Dallas Cowboys as my last option at the defense position, and that will be our slate breakdown for Week 4. Let me know in that comment section down below if you got any other options at these positions at QB, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and defense. Is there a game script you're really focusing on that I didn't talk about? Is there a game stack that you wanted to speak about? Comment down below. All right. Don't forget about that, guys. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MessageSD, and I'll be back with another video very soon. Peace out.